Welcome to Scaling with People, your weekly playbook for turning chaos into compounding growth. Each week, we go under the hood with battle-tested experts in all areas of business, from marketing to sales, operation, finance, and people, plus product and leadership, to unpack the plays, numbers, and systems that turn chaos into compounding growth. Learn straight from founders and experts who've done it and continue to do it successfully. There's zero fluff, just moves that you can steal immediately. This podcast is brought to you by Guide to HR, human expertise, AI-powered impact.
Welcome, everyone, to today's Scaling with People podcast. I'm Guinevere Query, your host and CEO and founder of Guide to HR. If you think revenue is the problem, you're already behind. On today's episode, we sit down with Ali Manki, a President Club level enterprise sales killer who spent nearly 2 decades blowing past quota and building C-suite trust at scale. We're getting into the real game, how to drive top-line growth and operational efficiency without creating a machine that collapses under its own weight. Because scaling isn't about selling more, it's about building a business that can actually handle the success. Well, welcome, Ali. I'm so excited to get today's episode started. But before we do, tell the audience just a little bit more about yourself. President's Club level. Woo woo.
Thank you so much, Guinevere. My name's Ali Manki. It's my pleasure to be here. And I've met with Guinevere a couple of times, and it's been an absolute blast. My objective in life is to help small and medium-sized businesses win in life. And whether that's, hitting their objectives for the year or driving through efficiency and growth in their business, I'm here to support that. And I've been doing it for 2 decades, like you mentioned. And the reason why I'm successful is because I find true alignment with their objectives, with my clients' objectives, and really figure out the right path forward based on that. It's not coming with preconceived notions of what they need and what they don't need. It's really listening and becoming aligned with my clients. So that's really what my superpower is. Building relationships at scale is really powerful for me, and I love to do it. It's what I live for.
And I think that's why you and I align so much, because we really have a passion for the smaller, mid-sized businesses and helping them grow and succeed. But before we dive into the topic, you are a founder yourself. And as past listeners and founders on my podcast know, I like to put you on the hot seat.
Of course.
Can you share a time, a lesson learned from your experience as a founder that someone might be able to learn and not have to go through the same pain points you did?
Yeah, there's so many,
Right.
but I think what I've used as a guiding principle for me, in this could be a tangible takeaway for your audience as well, is I was in a President's Club session where there was a motivational speaker, and this was like 2 decades ago, and it was a single mom. She was a biathlete. And if the audience doesn't know what a biathlete is, Google it. It is absolutely insane. Like, if you thought marathon runners or triathletes were crazy, biathletes are next level. And she was also a single mother to 2 twin girls. And so when she talked about adversity and getting through that adversity, she talked about having a 10-day span and having that kind of context. And so what she said is that I always think of things in 10 days. 8 days are going to be average, normal, everything running of the mill. There's 1 day that really, really, really sucks. And everything you do, everything you thought of turns to not great things, not great outcomes. But then there's that 10th day. That 10th day is where you touch anything and it turns to gold. Everything that you thought, everything that you were hoping for is actually popping up, and that is what you're aiming for. So in those 8 plus that ninth day that really sucks, you're really working towards that 10th day. So it is a lesson in persistence.
Yeah.
And I think that is really where I find my strength, because, working with, companies and clients and all the technology and all the rest of it, there's downs and ups, right? And I really want to make sure that my audience and your audience knows that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we just need to keep getting up. And every day is going to be, another day for towards that 10th day.
Man, where was that a couple months ago for me? I love that. I was actually down in the gutter. I gotta share this part because I think it goes so well. And I was struggling, and I just felt like, man, I'm just like, I'm working hard, but nothing is like happening. And I just feel like I'm doing all this work, but there's no actual outcome. And what am I doing? I'm just wasting my time, energy, resources, etc. And I was telling one of my friends who's a great mentor of mine, and she was, Guinevere, stop beating yourself up. You're building. There isn't going to be a check the box off, you got this done right now. You are building. And so building is so, you sit in this really like space of unknown, uncertainty, and not, and sometimes unclear, right? It's not
Yeah.
clear what's going on, and you're just like, man, I'm like, I feel like I'm like burning the midnight oil, and yet there's nothing happening. I'm not seeing it in the bank account, right? That's
Yeah.
ultimately, as a
Yeah.
business owner, that's what you want to see. And I was like, yeah, okay. I just like between that and the 10 days, maybe that will help give our listeners some reassurance. We all go through it, first of all, right?
We all
And that
do.
persistence and just keep going and not give up. I love that. That's such a great tool to have.
Yeah. It really helps when you have that really sucky day.
Yeah.
So pull that
And
in
there's
and
plenty
put
of those,
that.
unfortunately, right?
Yeah, I think so. And it's like this whole journey on entrepreneurship and being a founder, it's like, every day you may not think that you're getting there, but you are, right? And you may be getting a little bit stronger every day. You keep on building those muscles every day. And it's like, the world is putting more weight on that bar for you to lift
Mhm.
every day. And you're getting stronger, right?
Yeah.
So that's really the objective. It may not feel like you're getting stronger that day, but you are getting stronger,
Yeah.
right?
Kind of like going to the gym, you work out, man, why is this not getting easier? Oh, because you're like 10, 15, 20 pounds heavier on the machine than you were
Than
when
you
you first
were.
started. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
oh, it's
absolutely.
always so hard. Well, yeah, because I'm doing a lot more now.
Yeah. You're showing up
Yeah.
differently. You're getting better. You're getting stronger. You're getting more valuable to your clients. I think all of that's true.
Yeah. That's so
Yeah.
great. So diving into the topic, revenue versus reality as founders, a lot of us do chase revenue like it's going to solve everything. I hear a lot of times, sales will solve all problems. And yes, there is some truth to that. But where does that thinking break down fastest from your perspective?
Yeah, I think, yes, sales does solve many problems, most problems. However, the infrastructure needs to follow through as well, right? So I think when you're thinking about it as a founder, just for example, you say, I want to hit $1 million this year. This is my first year. I need to hit $1 million. If I hit $1 million, life will be beautiful. That may be what you're thinking of right now. And when you do hit that $1 million, there's growing pains. It's going to be a different kind of pain. It's going to be a different kind of challenges, maybe even more challenges than what you're feeling right now, sitting at $10,000 a month, right? And so I think that that is really, you need to have that mindset that you're always going to be problem solving. You're always going to be looking for opportunities for solutions and really thinking about it in a positive light. Like you're going to come out on this thing on the other end, you're going to be so much smarter and better. And when you talk to your friends after that, like whole journey that you've gone through, they're like, holy cow, like who is this person? What are they talking? Like, they may be amazed, your friends and family be amazed after you've gone through that type of journey and at what you've accomplished. And
Yeah.
you may be beating at yourself up a little bit, but you've actually done a lot,
Oh,
right?
thank you.
So it's
Yeah.
true,
Well,
right?
I think as
Yeah,
founders, as entrepreneurs, we're always pushing. We have high
yeah,
expectations of ourselves and we're always pushing. And I know for myself and a lot of founders I work with, we don't look back and celebrate as much as we should. So I do
yeah,
appreciate that. And for those listening, make sure you do stop and celebrate, even if it's the little wins, right? It's the little ones that
yeah.
add up and get you where you need to be. So you've seen companies grow quickly. What's the first crack that shows up when revenue outpaces infrastructure and operations as a whole?
Yeah, I think the first crack is really that, client delivery
Mm,
fails. So a lot of the times you have an NPS score of, let's say, 90%, and now you've got, 10 new clients. There's a lot of demand that you haven't hired enough people or you haven't hired the right kind of people. That's where the NPS score starts to, go down. You start losing clients. That is where the infrastructure really starts cracking. And I think, you know, one of the things that I learned from you is in the first five, new founders, or when you have a founder that's hiring the first five people, those first five people are the most critical, the most important, right? And I love that. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like, because those five people are going to be so influential for the rest of the business and how the culture is, how the people are going to be, what kind of people you're going to be hiring. All of that is going to be foundational based off of the first five people that you hire. So I love your advice, and I'm using it too now. It's in my own business because it's so powerful, and I found that that's really true. Like you got to be
Yeah.
really, really careful about who you hire,
Yeah.
especially in the first phase, because it's basically you building your foundation, then building up on top of that, right? If the foundation
Exactly.
sucks, then you're not going to have much of a building.
Well, and as a founder too, I think a lot of us have a hard time with letting go and
Yeah,
delegating,
yeah,
letting go. And I always hear, oh, well, if you want it done right, do it yourself. And I think in business, you really have to think about, well, I just want to get to this end state. How the person gets there shouldn't matter as much as them getting to the end state, unless, of course, they're taking too much time, making too many areas that impact relationships of vendors and clients and other employees, or, maybe it's costing you too much money. Obviously, those things you have to take care of. But if they want to do it where they're doing like step 1, 8, 9, 11, 15
yeah,
instead of what your process is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, then it's fine as long as they get to that outcome that you need. And 80% of what they produce is going to be acceptable to keep moving the needle forward. And I even talked to a marketing founder one time where she was like, I required my entire team I was the bottleneck. I required to read everything that went out of the office before it went out. And she
wow.
realized she was blocking her own business scalability because nothing was going out until she proofread. Well, if all she's doing is proofreading, right?
How she
is
end up?
she doing
Yeah.
anything on the business to actually move the needle forward? So she had that epiphany. So I think that's another reason why your first five are so impactful, because you really need to find people that you can trust to
Yeah.
actually let go. And
Yeah.
that's I think one of the hardest things as a founder when you're starting.
It is because we all have control issues, right? As
We do. We all
founders,
are
like,
control freaks. It's fine. You can say it.
yeah, I think so. Well, I do. So, it is hard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. Yes.
Yeah. So you've in your history have consistently hit quotas, even like 200 percent more. What are you doing differently that most sales teams completely miss? Or when you come into an organization that you support, what is like something that you're like, that's a secret sauce they aren't doing right?
Yeah. So, this is really what, before AI, but especially now with AI, I think what I do differently is deeply research the client and the company. And with that deep research and understanding of the client, the industry, and the person I'm talking with, I get an idea of two or three things of where I can help, right? In order to help them hit their objective. And, most lately I've been working with large enterprise companies which have public financial statements. So I'm able to really pick apart. So seeing where their biggest objectives are for the business, what their CEO, CFO, C-suite has asked for, and I'm actually able to help my client deliver on that, right? So whatever the mission critical priority is of that business, I want to be aligned to that. I want to be on board with that. I want to be helping my clients, crush that, that priority, right? And so that's where I really lean in. And you'll hear, oh, I don't have the budget, I don't have this, I don't have that. But then if you're aligning to the right thing, guess what? You got rainbows, you got sunshine, everything. You got all the budget in the world in, right? And so that's when things, if you're clearly demonstrating strong ROI, on what your deliverable is and it aligns to the main objective, I don't think there's a reason why people would say no,
Yeah.
right?
I love that. And it is, I think, like you said, this was before AI, and now with AI, I feel like it's a lot easier to do that deep dive and even bring in like the economic pressures that industry is dealing with, right? Some of the
Mhm.
externals as well as maybe some internals. If they're publicly traded, you might be able to get more information, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there was this one example that I had was a major travel agency that I won as a deal. And, they had been with a competitor for decades and we had tried to win that business over and over again prior to my time. And I had read their financial statements end to end. It was
Wow.
like 300 pages or 250
Oh,
pages. And it was, it makes your eyes cry because you're reading financial statements, right? So it took me a week or so to read through those. And when I met the CFO of this multi-billion dollar company, I was able to pick those three things in their financial statements. And this is the driest CFO you've ever met. He did not want to meet with me. And I said, this is the three things I picked up, and these are the three ways that we could potentially be helping you. Would you be open to having a deeper conversation? And he sat up in his chair. He's like, did you read the financial statements? Like all of it? I'm like, yeah, I did. And again, this is before AI, right? So
right.
it really does help for you to understand at a deeper level how you can impact a client and be innovative, be creative, right?
Yeah.
I think that's really what helps you win more deals.
Yeah. I love that. That's so great. So, what's one sales habit that feels productive but is actually killing deals?
Hmm. I think I think that, a sales habit that's really feels like you're being productive but isn't is really all about you're really spinning your wheels on deals that aren't going to ever buy, right? I think if you're spinning your wheels on decision makers that you may think are decision makers, but aren't really, I think that's where you're spinning your wheels a lot. And, you know, in sales and professional sales, you always want to be going to the top of the house, right? And building a case from that point on. And if they push you down, they push you down, but at least they're aware of you. And at
Yeah.
least they know that you're having a conversation within their team. I think too often people are scared to go to the top of the house. And because of that, they get in a comfort zone and dealing with the executive assistant or someone, way down the pipe. And that person just doesn't have the authority. They may be nice to talk to, but that is not going to help you move the needle on your deal. Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I would feel is like don't give too many options on your proposals, right? I think when you have a confused buyer, you have a buyer that's not going to buy,
Mhm.
right? So if you've given, five different options on a proposal, not going to help. It's going to
Mhm.
confuse people even more, right? And
Yeah.
that's not ideal.
I've always heard the rule do three because people tend to pick the middle one, like
Yeah,
the tendency.
yeah, I mean, it depends on the partnership and the relationship and everything else. Like if you already know
True.
what's going to move the
Fair.
needle, then yeah, just go with one.
Yeah.
But if you know that this person is, maybe either or, then yeah, three would be fine. I like two, you know, it's, and then you can hear feedback, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If there's feedback, then you just create a new one,
Right. Yeah,
right? And that's
exactly.
aligned to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So founders talk about growth, but not enough about efficiencies. Where do you see companies bleeding money without even realizing it?
Oh, there's so many places.
I call that cleanup on aisle X, right? Like cleanup
Oh
on
my
I
gosh.
call cleanup on aisle AI on whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I want to back up because you talked about growth and efficiency, and I think those are the two major topics for every single business alive because they're thinking, and they may be saying it different ways, but
Sure.
they're all thinking about both of those things, right?
Yeah.
And growth and efficiency is top of mind for every founder's CEO and executive. The growth piece we can help you solve, right? And definitely through my partnership, we can certainly help you with that. But with the efficiency piece, that is where I think, having too many tools or not enough tools or, having the wrong tools, I think that's where the inefficiency comes in. I'll give an example. I had a major, major client that was, a company that is a truck manufacturing company in the US, multi-billion dollar company. And they had a ERP system that was based on Oracle, and their head office had an ERP system that was based on SAP.
Oh,
They do not talk to each other.
no.
And this is
Competitors usually don't.
yeah, right. And
Yep.
so this is a major multi-billion dollar organization that should have known better
Mm.
when they're making these kinds of decisions. And so even this, the biggest, smartest, baddest companies out there are making inefficient decisions where they're just shooting themselves in the foot and driving inefficiency for absolutely, maybe outside looking in, but for us, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would
Yeah.
you do that to yourself, right? When
Yeah.
you had the choice.
I'm guessing there was
So,
two separate decision makers that didn't talk to each other about it at some point, and that's how it happened, would be probably one way.
yeah,
Acquisition
yeah,
might be another. You never know. I actually worked with a founder. I started working with him and I got into his HR tech stack and I was like, why do you have Gusto and Bamboo? It's the same concept, but for HR. And I was like, there are only 120 people. And I think the reality was is when they went international, they had to get Bamboo for the international employees, but they didn't move their US employees to Bamboo. But again, it's like they don't talk. So that's two systems HR, finance, and IT have to play in. Managers internationally couldn't manage their employees because they can't get into Gusto. So if their employees are US based, it was a nightmare.
yeah.
And really the sad part is like there's so much soft cost that are not necessarily defined at the end of the day that when I came in, I was like, we got to scrap this and
Yeah.
get everything more efficient and have HR, finance, and IT. One of them is putting in information, and maybe even it's the employee putting in the information, right? And then the systems associated with the interaction between those three departments are interacting with each other. And we're not
Yeah.
having to manually data input into like dozens of systems. And that time and the amount of waste on the brain of the employees having to do that. I mean,
Oh, it's just ridiculous. It's just
it's so
nuts.
ridiculous. Yeah.
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 Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So what's going back to the sales side, because I could talk your ear off about HR all the time, but what's the simplest way to identify inefficiencies in a sales process that a founder that's listening right now could go and execute today?
Wow. Okay, so here's something really operational, and I love, love, love this. Okay. It is you can find tools, and I have the tool as well, where it's proprietary and it's called a growth call. It's a growth call analyzer. And if you've got salespeople on your team that are making those outbound or inbound calls, we can have the transcript dumped into that analyzer, and the analyzer will tell you how they're doing. And it's a wonderful, wonderful coaching tool because A, it's impartial. It's not your manager sitting over your head and listening in to that call, which is super uncomfortable.
Yep.
Um,
This call may
and
be recorded.
right? And
Right.
so and so you don't even need to do that, right? Like it's just a transcript that you're having with your client. And
Hmm.
so you take the transcript, dump it into the AI. The AI will be able to tell you how you did on that call and will help you to improve. And as professional salespeople, and if you want to make more money, you want to improve, right? So, and as a business, you want your salespeople to be improving because
Yeah.
that is the money drive, that is the growth engine for your business.
Yeah.
So it is a really, really practical impact to your bottom line when you have tools like this.
Yeah, I love that. So, kind of sidebar question. I've seen founders pull the trigger on this too early and then too late. When it comes to building your sales team, at what point in time do you recommend considering bringing on a sales enabler, basically like a trainer, making sure everyone's saying the same thing the same way, keeping the brand intact, working with marketing, to just make sure that the people you're bringing on board can get ramped up as fast as possible? Because we all know, no matter how short or long your sales cycle is, there's still a ramp up time for new
Yeah.
hires to get to understand the product or services, the language, how you're representing the business when you go out. So, what do you see as kind of like the right sweet spot of actually implementing, hiring someone to be that kind of gatekeeper for the sales team?
Yeah, it's a great point and a great question. I think, for me, the general number is around three people, three salespeople.
Oh, that early.
Yeah, and the reason why is again back to your analogy, Guinevere, of building out the sale, building out the team. You at the foundation, you want to have really strong people. Same thing with the sales team, right? It has its own culture.
Yeah, it does.
Um, and so if you've got, out of those three people, you got one person that's a superstar and one person that's toxic, is not going to be great, right?
Yeah,
And you're not going to be able to build out a great sales culture from that because every organization that's built on growth needs to have a wonderful sales culture. And they don't get that from the beginning. It's really hard to take that out because then instead of you letting one person go, you're letting 10 people go,
right.
right? And that
Hmm.
costs the business substantially more, right?
And I
And I
feel like
know.
probably you're making it more sticky too, right? You're creating the culture, you're getting people ramped up quicker, and it's exciting for them. They're going to want to stick around and be with the company a lot longer than, oh my gosh, this place is a drag. I got to find something else.
Yeah, because if you got those three people reporting to the CEO or founder, it is a different vibe altogether than having a dedicated team leader or a sales manager.
Yeah.
And developing those SOPs, making sure that they're executing on what they're supposed to be executing on, driving through those sales funnels, right? I think that's really a sales manager's job is to
Yeah.
help his team, his or her team, to really execute.
Yeah.
So if they're not doing their job, then that's a different story. But
Yeah.
I think you get a sales leader in there really early and
Well, then
someone who's
that
really good. Like you may need to pay a little bit more than you're comfortable with for that sales leader, but I think that person, if they're worth their weight in gold.
for sure. I mean, out of all the roles in a business, sales is the easiest one to quantify whether they're worth their
Yeah,
weight or not, right? And pretty
100%.
quickly too. And I
Yeah.
think too, another thing is that person can help with the hiring, right? And that it also takes a lot of activities off of a founder's plate for them to focus on other things that the business needs at that point in time. I do always want to see personally, I always want to see my founders still spending time in sales with the clients or customers and obviously spending time with investors and board, but you don't need to be in it in the minutia, right? You can still
Yeah.
be kind of on the outside, be the coach at the Super Bowl game and be on the sidelines, right? Kind of thing. But yeah. All
Yeah.
right. So as we wrap up, I have a question about AI. Everyone talks about AI in all aspects, but definitely in sales. And we have even on this call, where is it actually driving results versus just creating noise?
Oh, what a question. Oh my gosh.
I
Oh my
saved the
gosh.
best one for last.
Oh, that's a doozy. I'm telling you. Okay. So I'm a big advocate of AI in my business and I help my clients execute with AI all day and every day. And when I think about I think that there's some tools, that are just not there yet and are not the right tool just yet. But if you reevaluate them in 3 to 6 months, it's night and day. And
It's
I'll give you an
amazing how fast
example.
it's changing.
It is, and I subscribe to this email. It's called the Rundown AI
Oh,
Agency, I
yep.
think.
I'm on
Yeah,
that
you
too.
you're on that too, right?
Yep.
So
It's
I
my
think
favorite out of all of them, I will say.
I will, yeah, me too, right? Because it tells you on a daily snapshot as to how AI is evolving on a day-to-day
Exactly.
basis. And so it is so fast. It is so fast that I think, it's hard for us to even comprehend. I heard the other day that AI is now building AI.
Oh,
Like you
yep.
can, yeah,
Yep. I've heard that too. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know if that's scary or if that's cool, but It's a little bit
I
of
guess
both,
it's a
I think.
little bit of both, as long as there's
Yeah.
some like human interaction and checking. And, you and I were talking about the fact that I was just creating an app script and I was building in a test, framework that I can, a human checkpoint before it actually executes on what I'm building to make sure that it's doing the right thing
Yeah.
consistently too, right? Because they do
Yeah.
hallucinate.
They do make yeah, they do hallucinate a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what I would say is that, I'll give you an example for me when when I take on a call, I used to be madly typing out notes, presenting, trying to listen, trying to talk. It was really, really, really hard,
Yeah.
right? Even though I've been doing this for 2 decades, it's really hard.
It's hard to
And
stay present when you have to do all those other activities at the same
right,
time. Yeah.
right. And so what I've done now is use AI like you're doing right now on this call, use a transcript. And what used to take me half a day to do a follow-up email with an executive at a C-level for a multi-billion dollar company, now it takes me literally 3 minutes
Yeah.
because that AI has got the transcript. I put the transcript into my LLM and I've got a system, updated for my records and for for my company. And then I'm ready to go, and I've already researched all the stuff that they need, and I've drafted up the email, and it's ready to go.
I
So it's
love
like
that.
it took me a lot of time. Like I don't have a creative bone in my body, so it used to take me a long time to draft up those emails and think about what I'm going to say. Is this
Mhm.
appropriate? Is this not? All of that. And now AI takes care of that for me. So
Yeah.
massive,
I
massive time
I love
savings.
that too because when I'm on my pre-sales calls and pre before I get them secured, I'll go back and re-listen to it in a completely different mindset or different day and just make sure did I miss some nuance of tone or word choice that would kind of be a flag of, ooh, this is a bigger issue or concern than they're letting on, especially on the HR front. A lot of times,
Mm.
people are not going to be forthcoming on that first or second call with you. But to be able to kind of go and pick up on those nuances after the fact and maybe follow up with them, that's what I love too, is that it helps me with that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's so powerful.
It
So
is.
powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, Ali, I so appreciate your time today. I know we could be talking for probably hours on end about all the things that you experience and do and help with businesses, but appreciate your time on the call. And for the listeners, I hope you got some tidbits. I know I did. So that was great. I always love it when I learn from my own guests. And hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And we will see you on our next podcast next week. Until
Nice
then,
seeing you
take
again.
care.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ali.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Scaling with People. If you got value from this conversation, do me a favor, share it with someone building something big. And hey, I'd love to hear your take. Drop a comment, shoot me a message, or start a conversation. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the bold, unfiltered strategies we drop every week. I'm Guinevere Query, founder and CEO of Guide to HR, where we help high-growth companies scale smart with people-first strategies and AI-powered systems that don't just keep up, they lead. If you're building fast and want your HR to move faster, head to guidetohr.com and let's talk. And remember, scale isn't just about speed, it's about people. Until next time, have a great one.